So we discussed this last week, and I wanted to clarify for anybody watching or listening. Um, the creative process, the thumbnail, I like to address it right away. But we, the creative process is a discussion today about workflow, basically. Okay, but workflow, I do the same workflow. It's a little different for Charles because he's creating something out of nothing, and I already have what I've created with my workflow. So you have to do it totally different. And that's what we're going to discuss, but not right now. Um, I wanted to address your new channel because you've allowed me to talk about it. We got a few videos up there. Do you want to tell us what kind of channel it is?
Yeah, so it's I think we've talked about ASMR before
Right,
here. And so it's ambient music, ambient chill music, that's the subgenre of ambient
right.
mixed with ASMR sounds. So that's kind of the best way I can describe it. It's hard to understand, but it's the idea is to have use ASMR sounds in ambient chill music.
Now, has anybody ever done that?
Not that I know of, but that doesn't mean they haven't. Just no one. I've
So,
never seen it.
so it's like a new genre or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't know what I'm doing if you think about it, right? You're like, oh, I kind
Right,
of want to do this thing and that thing. I've never seen it before, and you don't know what you're doing, so you kind of grope your way through the dark trying to figure out this idea that you have in your head, and you try to come up with the best way to describe it and the best, it takes time for you to understand what you're doing.
right.
Um, and so, I mean, look, ambient music's been around for decades. In fact, it's been around for even more than that. Eric
And it's a
Satie,
big category, isn't it?
yeah, well, Eric Satie, his music, he called furniture music. And it was sort of like in the room with you, like the furniture, but you don't pay attention to the furniture. The furniture's just there. And so then Brian Eno coined the term ambient music, and he created music for airports. And I think he was in Germany, maybe it was Munich, I can't remember, but he was in an airport in Germany, and they'd spent like millions and millions of dollars on this beautiful architecture and everything. And he was listening to the music that they were piping in, and he really just thought it was terrible. You spend all this money on this airport and this gorgeous architecture, and then you pump in the worst kind of just muzak, kind of boring music. And so his first ambient album was titled Music for Airports. So you kind of like start off thinking, like I started thinking like, well, I've been writing ambient chill lately, and I'd like to take that and the ASMR sounds, and there's got to be a way to combine these into music and ASMR. Now, some ASMR artists have done some music behind their stuff, but they typically started off in the very beginning of the video. They'll have the music, and then they'll overlap them whispering or doing something
Right.
sound wise, and then the music will fade off and go away, and it'll just be that. It's
So
very rare.
they almost crossed the platforms, but didn't really.
Yeah, and then other people just play this kind of just simple, repetitive ambient piece behind them when they like. There's some ASMR artists that do Reiki healing, and that in particular is, to me, just from the music standpoint, boring.
Right.
So I don't want boring music with ASMR over the top. I want to have interesting music with ASMR. So that's what I'm attempting to do, and I've got a few videos up.
So I'm really curious what now I know you like both categories. I know you like ASMR channels,
Mhm.
and I know you like chill music or ambient music. What made you mix chocolate with peanut butter?
Um, so I had for like a year or more, I've had this playlist on YouTube called Music ASMR, and it's mostly tongue drums, just people playing tongue drums or pan drums. And I
Is that
really
those
like those.
brushes?
What?
What are tongue
Say
drums?
again?
What are tongue
Tongue
drums?
drums?
Yeah.
Tongue drums, it's this metal sphere, and they have these cutouts that are like tongues, right? They're they're cut out, but they're attached at one side.
Right.
So they're cut out. They look like a tongue, and that part vibrates, right? When you hit it with a mallet, that part's going to vibrate,
I've
right?
never heard of the term, dude. You
Yeah.
literally have just taught me something
Have you
brand
heard
new.
of pan drums? Have you heard of a pan
Yeah.
drum?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's sort of a pan drum is sort of like those Caribbean drums, right? The steel drums
Hubcaps?
flipped upside down, flipped upside
Yeah.
down. So that's what a
Yeah.
pan drum is. But anyway, I had this playlist and I used to listen to it in place of when I would listen to ASMR, because sometimes I just wanted to hear music and these very simple tones. That is, tones that are that don't have a lot of harmonics in them, that are
Right.
just simple sine wave tones, or maybe a few harmonics, if anything. Those are just there's something about that that is relaxing, and people can meditate to that. And so, because I had that, I had this idea of, could I take music and ASMR and mix it? For a long time, I've had that idea. And then I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to
What is a
start
long time? Like for a year, a decade,
couple
what?
years, couple years.
Years?
And I thought, I'm just going to do it. I'm just, I started writing ambient music for another channel I was starting, which I never got off the ground, but all the music got written. And I'm like, I should take this music and apply it with the ASMR
Right.
idea and make another channel. And then that's the one I've been pouring my energy, at least my creative energy, into.
All
And
right.
so,
Speaking from an area of not understanding or experiencing the benefits of ASMR, but realizing I was listening to your work, chilling out, no pun intended.
right.
And I realized that it was very relaxing, even though I'm not into ASMR.
You don't have to be into
Like I could work
ASMR.
to it.
Yeah, you don't have to get the tingling feeling from ASMR to find ASMR videos relaxing.
Will you be putting it all in the playlist so I can continuously run it?
Yeah, eventually. I just don't have enough videos right
No,
now
but
to
that's
do
gonna
that.
be brilliant because I
Yeah.
can kick that playlist on and just
Yeah, and then
leave it
just
in the
work.
background and do
Yep.
work.
Yep. The only thing you can't do with is like you can I write software, so like to listen to, you know, either classical music or jazz or ambient when I have to think. If I don't have to
Right.
think, I can listen to anything. If I'm just doing just chores,
Okay, question.
I can listen to anything.
What was weird was listening to myself on the radio, off the radio. So, like, when I would listen to my tapes,
Mhm.
no interest whatsoever. Do you find interest in your music, listening to it?
Yeah, I didn't yeah, it's kinda
It's a
weird.
weird feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, well, here's what's weird about it. Like I have my thing up on Spotify. I have, an album on Spotify. And I every once in a while go back and listen to it and go, I forgot what I wrote. Like I don't remember. I'm like, how did I write this? Like I don't even remember. Sometimes I think, man, how did I even come up with these ideas? And it's it's weird. So we're talking about the creative process. And for me, and I was honestly, we started late because I was writing music and forgot the time. Then you kind of get there and you listen. For me, at least my creative process is to put something down on paper, just anything, right? Just get some idea on paper. It may be crap, but it gets you started. So you put something down on paper and then you listen to that and that gives you another idea. And then, ooh, that idea and this works with that and this other idea. Sometimes you take your original idea and it's gone, but it got you started.
Right.
So,
It's an evolving idea.
yeah, exactly. And you just seed it. You seed the idea with this initial inspiration, and that initial inspiration may completely get um, demolished by everything else you create after it. And you may even cut it out at the end and go, it's so funny because that little piece here's how I've done this. Started writing a piece and then had this little section that I really liked, and then keep writing and developing it, and then taking the whole piece that I was writing before it and throw it away. And this
Okay.
new piece is what I wind up with as the finished product.
Do you ever find that, like, you're working through an creative issue and you go to sleep and wake up with the answer?
Not in music. I
Okay.
don't
In
in
programming?
programming all the time,
Are
but
you
not in music
serious?
all the time.
It's so weird. That's
Yeah.
like 2 parts of the brain.
Well, sometimes I'm just thinking about programming all night, which is the worst. And it's like being at work all night and working on the same problem over and over again all night. It's the
That's okay.
worst.
I'll go to bed stirring some batter and wake up stirring some batter. It's
Right?
so frustrating.
Right? It's exactly it. Like you feel like you didn't get anything done, but somehow all of a sudden you go. I always tell people, I go to bed, I'm an idiot. And when I wake up, I'm a genius
So you have really solved problems in your sleep?
all
I
the
mean,
time.
obviously not music.
No, no, not music. Music, I don't see as a problem so much. Okay. I
Right.
don't I see programming as a problem. You're trying to solve, how can I do this one thing that I know I want to do? How do I do that? Oh man, I think there's a way, blah, blah, blah. And then you go to bed and you wake up and you sit down at your computer and you're like, and you're typing away. You're like, oh, I know. God, why didn't I think of this sooner? I
Right.
know I was thinking about it all night.
Oh,
So, but music, I don't do that. I walk away, and if I hear another piece of music, I completely forget my music. Whatever music's in my head is in my head. Everything else I can't think of. And so I don't think of music as a problem. It's not like, oh man, how am I going to end that piece? I don't think about it that way. I don't know
right.
why. I just don't.
Right. So I come from once again, I come from totally different areas than you. I come from an area I used to manage musicians, okay? Artists, music writers, singer-songwriters. And I found each one was different. Each person, some would write the words first, some would write the music first.
Right.
When they would listen to music, they'd fall in love with the music first, then learn the words the other way around.
You mean then make up the words?
No, 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 no. I mean, like, let's say you just listen to the radio, a
Oh,
brand new song.
that got it. Right.
Do you fall in love with the music first or the
I'm
words?
more of a music person than a lyric person.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Everybody who does music is different. Like, they're 2 different ways.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, when you're creating, because it's a great segue into our topic, but when you're creating music that has words, which one do you do first?
Oh, words for sure.
I can't even fathom. I
Well,
have no idea.
the reason I do words first is because I I need the idea on paper. What am I trying to what am I trying to say? And
Oh,
so
so
here's the
you're a
thing.
message guy, not a
So
feelings guy.
wait, no, hold on, hold on. So here's the deal. Lyrics communicate ideas and music communicates emotion.
Right.
So I
That
need to know what the words are so I know what the emotion should be.
so
I don't want to just
your one goal is to get a message across in your music.
when you write a song, if you're
Right,
writing a song, then you're trying to say something.
right.
If you write just music, you're trying to make the person feel something. So when I tell
That's
you something
crazy.
with words, I'm trying to get you to think a certain way. When I play music for you, I'm trying to make you feel a certain way. And you can combine the two. It's done in movies, it's done in song all the time. You feel a certain way and think a certain way when you have both, but the music's making you feel and the words are making you think.
I remember when you first got into music, you were more a words guy, and now I hear you talk more about the music, building it,
No,
right?
I've always been more of a music guy. I've
Really?
always, yep,
Oh,
always.
I always took it
Even when we were
because
little.
you would spend so much time, like when I was at your house, you were writing and you were spending so much time, like hours on the words. You'd have a yellow legal pad.
Yeah, but that's when you're trying to write words, right? When you're trying to
Right.
write poetry or you're trying to write a story, right? So my last video, the one I just put up yesterday on this channel, I had it was a story.
That
So
was
I
interesting, like way different than all the
right,
others. Yeah.
right. And so it was a story. So I started with the story in this case, which is like starting with lyrics in a song. So I started with the story and then I read the story, right? And with a softly spoken. which is very ASMR-y. And then I wrote the music around that.
Wait, is ASMR a word?
No,
Did you just make it up?
yeah, it's not. It's
Okay.
not a word.
And then
It
you
is
wrote the
now.
music after the story?
Yeah, because then that's how I would write a song typically.
Do the
Is I
words
would
affect the music? The way you write your music?
100% because it's a story. So imagine, so how does a score for a film get done? They don't write the score and then film the story and start writing
Right.
around the score. No, they write the screenplay, they shoot the film, they edit it, and then they write the music to it. Okay. So I kind of did a similar thing with the story here. I wrote the story, I recorded it, and then I wrote the music for the story. And you're trying to make people feel a certain way, right? So if
Even
you're
with the
supposed
words or the music, you're trying to.
you're trying to make them think a certain way with words. You're
Got it.
trying to make them
Oh, okay.
feel a certain way with music. So that's why the music came last and makes sense to come last. That doesn't mean you can't write a song by
No.
finding a cool riff and a cool tune in your head and then adding words to it. That works too.
Or buying AI that does it for you.
Yeah, right. What you're not even a composer at that point.
Okay. I think my biggest craving is you walk us through most of us don't write. We don't do music. Okay. There is a literal work steps that you go through in your creative
For me,
process.
there just isn't. Every time it's completely different.
Okay, what starts an idea?
Um, okay, so my thing is I start with sounds. Okay. I'm very much into the sound of something.
Really?
So, yeah. So I'm just like playing with sounds. That's all I'm doing is playing with sounds. Some people play with a guitar, right? They play with a riff, a rhythm, a chord progression. A lot of people will do things like that. And then they'll go, "Oh man, that's kind of cool." And if you listen to the stories behind pieces of music, like how they got developed, lots of times it's all kinds of crazy stuff happens. So a lot of times they reject. Okay, so American Woman by I want to say Three Dog Night, but I don't think it is. Who did American Woman? Do you remember
I
the
don't
song?
freaking know. Come on, ask.
Look
Ask.
look that
How
shit
about
up. Look that
who
shit
sang
up.
American Woman?
What was the band?
The Guess Who?
Oh, the Guess Who. Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't Three Dog Night. It was the Guess Who. Okay, so how did that song get written? Right. Well, one time I think the main singer was late to getting on stage, and so the guitarist just started playing a riff. And then
I
the main
love
singer
that.
got on stage and he was liking the riff. And so he started ad-libbing the words. I mean, they literally wrote the song at a concert.
That's so funny.
Right. And so a lot of people will come up with a riff or a beat. Like if you think about it, I'm not into this. I don't listen to it and I don't write it, but guys who rap over beats, right? The
Like
beats,
Junior, right?
yeah, like beats start first. They get the beat and then they listen to it and they get into a groove and they get into feeling a certain way and then they want to
Right.
say something. And so then they
You're
rap over
totally
the
right.
top.
I get that. Yeah. I
Right.
get
And
that.
so that is part of a creative process where people will play, and especially people play guitar. A lot of times they'll just be playing on their guitar, just messing around, and they'll go, "Oh, that's kind of cool." And I just sit down at the computer and I have my keyboards. I have, a couple keyboards here,
I
and
think
I
a
just
real
start.
keyboard, right? Notes keyboard, not ABC keyboard.
No. It's a piano keyboards, right?
Right.
So I
I
have these
wanted to
different
clarify that.
Yeah. So I have a Rolly Seaboard, which is an MPE kind of keyboard, and then I have a regular MIDI keyboard, an Arturia keyboard in front of me, and on a little drawer, and I'll just play, and I'll just mess around, futz around, and I might get inspired by something, just a sound. I have like a million sound sources, and I can, if I don't like any of those, I'll just make my own in Phase Plant, which is a synthesizer. I'll just make my own sounds if I can't
Right.
find one that inspires me. I just need to be inspired by something. And go, oh, that's kind of cool. And then play something in a rhythm, and go, oh yeah, that's kind of cool too. I kind of like that. Oh, I know what I could add to that. Let me get another piece and add that to this. So, and I'll just sit there and listen to it. And I'll just sit back as a listener and go, what's it missing? Like, what am I hearing right now while I'm listening to this? I'm hearing this other instrument coming in about now, right?
You can feel it, can't you?
Well, it's like
You heard the
at this
strings come in.
age, but at this age, we've heard so much music. Like I'm 62. I've heard 62 years of music. And most of the time I'm listening to music during my day.
Right.
Like I just am. So constantly listening to music, you'll hear different things that you've heard before somewhere or
I
something
remember
similar.
you and I were listening to Depeche Mode, People Are People, I think. And there was a ping pong ball. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Was it
It,
people? It was
it,
Last
it
Moon
was
something.
they took a ping. Oh no. Yeah, it was ping pong, right? Ping pong. And
Right.
they just over a surface, they held it up over like the table or something and they just let it go and they go and it would just bounce, 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 bounce. Yeah. And then it would stop. That wasn't Art of Noise. It was it Depeche Mode? I
It
can't
was
remember.
Depeche Mode. I know it
Okay.
was. I don't
Okay.
remember the song, but I know.
Yeah.
You were
They
the
just
first one.
sampled that, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
you were
bet
the
they were
first one to
sampling.
point it out. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, that's kind of cool.
Right?
And
Yeah.
then thank you very much because you ruined it for me. Because every Depeche Mode song had something. They would do something that I
Yeah.
go, that's like the ping pong ball.
Yeah. I mean, here's my thing. I remember, okay, this is going to sound lame, but you remember the Brady Bunch? Do you
Yeah.
remember that? Okay.
Yeah.
So you remember the episode where Peter's voice changes and they had
Yep.
that audition and stuff? They were doing singing stuff. And the one guy says, and I never forget this for some reason. He goes, oh no, this is great. He goes, no, this is good. This every song needs a sound, right? And just his voice cracking was that unique sound within that piece, right? Within that song. And I love that. I love that idea. I mean, we were kids, but I held on to that idea like my whole life of like every song needs a sound. Now you can play a piece of music for me and I can go, that's the sound right there. That's the unique sound. I'm always looking to pick that unique sound. What's unique? What's the unique sound in different songs? Not all of them have it, but when they do, they're good songs.
You know what's interesting? I am nowhere near writing music ever. I never will. But
Mhm.
I feel the same way about cooking. So like when I'm looking at a recipe, right? And I go, ooh, they poured Sprite into it or something. To make biscuits, nobody does that. It's unique.
Mhm.
Or, oh, they put this special seasoning or ingredient I've never worked with before. It's unique. I would be more pushed to create that recipe because it was unique. You know,
Mhm.
where you're talking about a unique sound, I'm a unique ingredient. Not that they're anywhere near each other, but I
No, but
get it.
you're it's the quest for originality, I guess,
Yeah.
right? And so yeah, I'm not the only person. I mean, there's so many guys who make sounds. They're sound designers, and they're always looking for that elusive, never before heard sound. Right? To
Okay.
me, I've come to the conclusion. I've been doing sound design for a couple years now, and I think it's it's not about the sound so much because you only have so many sources of sound. It's what you do with that sound. It's the effects. The effects make the sound.
So did we decide that? I mean, did you state? I must have missed it. Sorry. You're a words guy first or a music guy first?
I said music.
Music. Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Um, so you sit down, you create a sound, and then you write music with that
I
sound.
I either find a sound or I create it. All right. I'll find something that is just interesting. Right? It's just that's it. And I mess around on the keyboard and I try different effects on it and I tweak it. Like I just today, I mean, right before we started recording, I
Mhm.
took a piano, just a piano sound, and I put it through Rift, which is a distortion filter. And I forget, oh, I put it through Crystalline, which is a reverb. Okay. And then
Sounds like
I
a drug.
right? And then there was music already playing, so it needed to support that. So I just needed some bass sound in there. So I played very low on the keyboard, and then and then I added Black Hole, which is another. No, I didn't. I did Crystalline. I added Black Hole at first, but anyway, then I wanted, because I had this reverb, I wanted to affect the transient, which is the initial strike of the key. Okay, so I put a transient shaper in there, and I took a piano, and if you listen to the instrument, it doesn't sound anything like a piano anymore, right? Because I've morphed it so much into some other sound. But that's that's what you're doing. You're just futzing around with stuff. It's sort of like you put ingredients. You throw this little ingredient. Imagine you're cooking, right?
Right.
And you're like, I wonder what this would taste like. And you put a little of that in there. The difference is, if I don't like the taste, I can take it out.
I know, exactly. I'm like, oh, that.
You're like, oh shit, I got to start over.
Yeah,
throw it out.
Cinnamon, that's for sure.
Yes. So I can put an effect on there, go and change the presets on the effect. I'm like, yeah, and go to the next one. No, this is the wrong effect. I don't need a chorus effect. Get rid of it, and then try something else. So it's more experimental in the way I work.
How long does music, on average, so far today for you, not anybody else?
How long is it? What?
How long does it take to write it all?
Okay, so the piece that I wrote last was 8 or 9 minutes. The one before that was 11 minutes. The one I'm working on is like a minute. It's going to be longer, of course, but I've only got a minute's worth of ideas down. It's here for me,
just musically.
Yeah, for me, when I'm writing something, when do I know when to stop is kind of the question I think you're asking.
It's kind of like fighting in high school. When do you stop, right? I'm joking. Sorry.
Well, no, okay. I don't see the analogy, but
because I didn't stop fighting until the principal came,
right?
Tore you off the guy.
To yank you off the person.
Exactly. So do you just keep going when you know when?
No. At some point, you're constantly testing what you've written. You listen to it. Do I like it? Is it missing something? You're just asking questions in your mind when you're listening to it. I'll literally get out of this chair and go sit in another chair back there and look at my phone while it's playing. So I kind of hear it in the background, and I'm not listening to it directly. And so and then I'll look at my phone, look at my email. All of a sudden I'll go, oh, right there, that doesn't sound right. And I'll stop the playing. I'll look at the notes and oh shit, I typed the wrong note in there. Geez, I'm off by something. Then fix that note. One note. And then play it again and then go sit down again. Sometimes that'll be it. Or, oh, wait, I have this idea. And then you stop it and then you put this new piece in there or some change in there. At some point, though, you're going to listen to the whole thing and go, you know what? I feel like I'm done. I feel like this is it. This is the piece.
It's a feeling. Okay.
And you're sampling. It's like sampling as you're cooking, dude. It's exactly that.
Does it take days, weeks, or months?
Totally depends on what you're doing. Like I can't go months. Months is too hard. Weeks is more like it because I don't get enough time. If I had time, it would be days to write a piece of music.
Got it. Okay, so the music's all done. Let's just play it out. Do you sit down and start listen? Do you write the words while listening?
No, I told you I do word. If I'm gonna write a song, which I haven't written a lot of,
I will music write first, right?
The lyrics first.
Oh, you already have the lyrics for it.
I already have the lyrics. So I'm writing the lyrics around the word. I'm writing the music around the words. So I'm thinking like, what's the rhythm? Right. That's all I have with words. Right.
Right.
So what is the rhythm of the words? What's the rhythm? And then that dictates the melody. So when I'm writing words, I write it like I write poetry. And when I'm writing poetry, it's all about rhythm. So and the number of syllables. So it's like ba, 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 ba. There's 5 syllables, right? And then it's, okay, ba, 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 ba. Okay. And now you heard me say that ba, ba part, those are notes, right? So what's the natural notes that you're going to hit when you're saying these words and try to hear the nature of speech in that?
How do you want to say stuff going on there?
Right. How do you want to say it? So let's say, think of a 3-syllable word for me. A word that has 3
Um,
syllables.
uh, I don't know. Selfishness.
Okay, great. So you could say selfishness, selfishness, selfishness. Okay, now
Right.
I accented each word, each syllable one at a time, right? So you ask yourself, where is the accent on this word? Is it
Right.
going to be on is that going to be on a downbeat? Is it so you think about all these kinds of aspects. How's a singer going to sing this? Right? You try
Really?
to sing it. You just try to say it because selfishness, right? Of course, that's a really that would be really hard to put that word into a song, honestly, because of all the S's. But you have to think about the word and how would you say that word, right? That's why a lot of lyric writers write single syllable words, right?
Okay, got it.
Because you can have one note on that, right?
Okay, so you've written the words. You've written the music. Weeks have gone by. You got the words and the music. Now what do you do? They're separate right now.
They're not separate.
Well, on separate files, right?
No. Well, I
Don't
mean,
you
you
do
typed it in, you've got the words, and then you've got
right?
the music. Then you
Do you
sing over the
record
music.
your voice? Do you
That's
bring
all I
somebody
got.
in?
I only have
Oh,
my voice. I have no one else. So
would you ever bring anybody in? Did you ever want
no,
to?
no.
Okay. So you do your voice. Do you record your voice next? Is that the next thing you do? You've
Well,
already got the music.
yeah, you have to. Like, there's
Okay.
nothing. But what else is there? There's voice and then you try to mix it, right? And you mix it,
I
and you're
know, but
done.
people know you don't have a sound booth. You're at home. People know you don't have a recording studio to walk into.
Right. But this particular microphone that I have cuts out a lot of noise,
It's
and
really good, by the way.
right? It's really good
Yeah.
at that. You have to really make sure you're singing directly into it like this. Um, and I have um, my closet is if you
Have you
go
ever
out.
used that again?
Yeah,
I
I've
know
used
you
it. I
started doing that, but you keep
no,
doing it?
I no, I do most of my voice work here in this
Right.
room. And but when I was
Wow.
doing singing, um, I did it in the linen closet,
Right.
which is just like it's like a sound booth
I know
because
it
3 of the
deadens all
walls
the yeah.
has, sheets and towels and everything, and then I have a boom arm in there, and then I just have a very long XLR cable I run into the other
Do you
into
use
the
that microphone right there for the
yeah,
closet?
I used to use this microphone in there, yeah, but
Oh, I bet
I'm
that
thinking
sounded
about I'd
great
probably
too.
buy a different one and use like a more of a, I think it's called a condenser mic.
Is it like not a broadcast mic,
It
but
looks like those broadcast mics where they have that kind of
right.
like triangular,
Got
you're
it.
flat, you sing into the flat part.
All I know is you talk into it. That's all I know.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. So you now have put it all together. I've heard the term and I'm such an idiot, but what is mixing music? I've heard the term
You
used,
see
but
those big mixing boards, you always see these
yeah,
documentaries about, "Oh, look at the Beatles," and, and things like that, and they show these big mixing boards. You're basically you have everything on separate tracks, right? And so what you're doing, and I'm doing this all the time. I don't go through a huge mixing phase,
right.
okay? Because when I'm writing the music, I'm
Mhm.
mixing it at the same time. And
Oh, yeah.
that comes from just watching my friend, um, who's a composer, Glenn Scott Lacey. I just watched him. He never worried too much about the mixing part because he would pick the right instruments, right? So when you pick the right instruments, oh, that's high up, and you're not going to play a bunch of, excuse me, a bunch of instruments all high, and then they're just stepping on each other. So if you play like an oboe and a flute, they're they'll sound like a separate instrument, but sometimes depending on how high you're playing the oboe and how
Right.
low you're playing the flute, they almost sound like the same instrument to me. Now maybe his ears are far more trained than mine,
Right.
but you don't have the worry that a lot of these bedroom producers have because they're just throwing all kinds of things at the wall. I had that problem when I first started. And when I went to writing for the orchestra, it taught me a lot. And I still have a lot to learn, but it taught me a lot of like, hey, wait a minute, if I do this right, I don't have to worry about the mixing so much because I'm picking the right type of sound that's missing. Like if you started writing a bunch of stuff and you're writing up in the flute and clarinets and oboes, if you're writing stuff up there, well, then what you're missing, in violins too, right? You're missing, some bass. So, where's your bass sound going to come from? So if you think about your instruments in the frequency domain, then your mixing is far, far easier. Okay. But so mixing is getting the balance of things, right? You want to balance stuff. It's really it.
Didn't Glenn Scott Lacey do the music for your movie? Didn't she?
No, he didn't. He didn't. No, he didn't.
Oh, well, where can anybody, if anybody listening, where could they hear him? Just go to
YouTube. He's got a YouTube channel. Just
can you type his name in and find his channel?
Do I have what?
Can you type Glenn Scott Lacey?
I don't know.
In YouTube and bring him up.
I don't know.
Because I know people are probably either trying it right now as they're listening to us, or they will afterwards.
He totally comes up. I type Glenn Scott Lacey. It's all him.
Okay.
Oh man, that's pretty good. He's got a lot of.
I cannot tell you how amazing this man is. By the way,
yeah,
he's
so
way
good.
amazing.
He's so good. He's taught me so much. He's like my mentor, my music mentor.
Well, he's a graduate from Berklee School of Music. I ain't saying.
Yeah, he's been doing this for like he's been doing it for like 30, 40 years now. 40 years probably.
And he used to do the Power Rangers
way back.
Yeah,
and he did Transformers. Yeah, he did Transformers and a bunch of other stuff. I can't even remember all the things he's done.
Yeah, so go check him out on YouTube. He's a good friend of ours, and he's really talented.
Amazing. He's amazing. So in any case, mixing is really trying to get the balance. So think about this. If you think back in the 60s and 70s when they used stereo, they don't use stereo today at all, right? Everything's just like super loud and it's in both ears. But back in the day, you could hear like the guitar or the bass over here, and then the guitar over here, and then the drums might be in the center of your sound field. And that's part of mixing. That's not all of mixing, right? But that's part of it. EQing, right? So you have two instruments that are kind of stepping on each other. So you can carve out with the EQ, like, well, I just want to hear the bass, more of the bass of this instrument, and a little bit more of the high end of this instrument. And then they don't step on each other so much.
Have you heard?
That's part of, let me finish. That's part of mixing. Okay. How an instrument is introduced or removed from a mix, right? So your instrument can come up and you see them, doing the sliders on those big mixing boards. You would see them mix it in and mix the other thing out. You did this in DJing. You'd mix one album up and the other one down, right? That's a little mix. That's mixing.
That's a mixing board. The same.
Got it. Right. And sometimes you play a cappella on one album and on the other album you play the music. And then you would just balance it with your volume. That's mixing.
Right. When it sounds good, you have a sweet spot.
Right. And that's mixing too. And you're just doing it on a grander scale in a song.
Have you ever heard a song on the radio that wasn't mixed well?
All the fucking time. All the time.
I'm just
all
curious.
The time, where the vocals are buried in the music.
I hate that. When I used to manage musicians,
they always bury their vocals because they don't want to hear their voice.
Yeah. And by the way, just so you know, the sound man who was running the soundboard for the concert, they would put the music too loud.
Yeah, and that too.
That's because they're usually musicians. That's why.
Oh, okay.
The sound men usually were ex-musicians.
Okay.
That's why they favored the music. And I always told them, I better hear his vocals. You better turn down the music. That's all I'm asking.
Right.
Make sure
Well,
the
it's like
music.
movies. I turn down the damn music. I want to hear the dialogue.
Oh, I hate that. I
It's
hate
the
that.
worst.
All
Or
right.
you're watching a movie and it's just fine, right? Then your wife walks through the room and the music plays. You're like, "Oh my god, can you turn that shit down?" I'm like, "It's the music. It was fine a minute ago."
I know. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
right. I'm like, and they don't believe you at first, but then
You know
yeah,
what I love? I love when I'm watching TV, I grab my ribs and I get my hand all greasy. She's like, "Can you turn it up?" I'm like, "Really?" And now the remote's all covered in grease. Anyway, okay. So we left off where you just finished mixing.
yeah. So
What is
then
the
you
next
do.
step?
I kind of mix along on the fly. I'm always like, there's no point in adding another instrument. So when I first started writing music, right, and I think I heard Jacob Call. I think his name is Jacob Collier. I'm terrible with names, awful with names. But he was talking about this in school when he was in school learning. And his professor said that he had all these like great ideas, but he put them all in one piece. And he's like, one idea per piece. And I would do that. I'd like, oh, this is a great idea. Here's a great idea. Here's a great idea. And put it all in one. I'm trying to like make the best piece that's ever been written in the all history of mankind. You're trying to jam all these great ideas into one piece, and it was just a hot mess. And now
Right.
I don't. I try to do less. Like once it's something's good, don't add anything. It's good. Move on. Better to add more uh, uh, horizontally than vertically. And what I mean by
Right.
that is write more music, right? Make the piece longer than adding more instrumentation to the one part of the song that you already have or a piece of music you already have.
I I have a question regarding anybody listening that is
If anyone's
excited.
listening.
No, no, but basically they're getting excited. They wanna write music. They wanna do what you do, okay? And they wanna do what's the first step? Somebody's interested in becoming a musician, a writer.
Yeah, I'm probably not the right person to ask because my musical journey is kind of crazy and weird. And I started in my 30s and then I stopped writing music and I didn't start back up into my late 50s. So yeah, don't do that.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a waste of time.
right. So okay. So I'll just I don't know if my experience is going to resonate with too many people, but I'm just going to tell you anyway.
Okay?
My thinking was thinking. That was my problem. I thought too much. I thought I need to understand music so I know how it works so that I can make it. Okay? That was just the dumbest approach you could imagine, right? Just doesn't work. If you want to write great music, right? What you consider great, because what I consider great, you may not, right? So you go, oh man, I absolutely love this music. Study it, think about it, right? And I don't mean go to school and learning music theory is important. I got tons of books on music theory that I read. And I'm always trying to learn more and more, and that's important. That's good. But the most important thing is to understand what about that music that you like. It also helps to tell you what you don't like. So, anytime I hear music, like especially in the gym, that I hate that they're playing, I instantly go to what is it about that that's so wrong, right? Why do I hate this? And I learn from what others have done. And then, and this works, John, not just for music, this works for anything, movies, books, games, anything of that, artwork, anything that you like, okay, and that you want to make. Go look at the art, the version of it that you hate. Okay. You will learn more from the music you hate, the movies you hate, all the
That's
things you
interesting.
hate. You'll learn so much more. You'll be like, why didn't they just add where are the drums? Why did they drop the drums out at this point or whatever? You will learn so much more and why? Because failures are where all the learning happens. Okay.
That's why
And
wait a minute. That's why people go off the bad comments on Amazon. They know about learning that they're researching a product they want to buy, and
Right.
they hear all the bad things about that product. They're learning
Yes.
about that
When
product
you
that
make
they
a mistake and you do something and it doesn't work, you learn. When you listen to music you don't like, you learn what you like. You learn what they did wrong in your mind, what they
yeah.
did wrong and what they should have done. And you say, well, they should have done, or I wish they would have. I rewrite lyrics in my head all the time. I go, you know what? This lyric is wrong. It should have been this word, not that word,
You've done that with movies too.
all the time. So
Rewrite the script. Like, I
you
would have done
learn,
that.
like, I totally, that was a stupid thing. Why didn't they do this thing and go in this path? And now once you can get to the point where you can critique and you understand it's harder to understand what you like. It's easier to understand what you don't like. And then you learn from that. And you go, well, why didn't they do this like in this piece of music or in this film? Why didn't they do this? Is stupid. This is awful. I don't like that. Or really, you're going to rhyme me with me with me with me? That's your lyric where you end every sentence with the word me, and that's your rhyme scheme? Good job there, buddy. Maybe you should buy a rhyming dictionary. Like when I'm saying shit like that, I understand that rhymes and having the right rhyme scheme is important to me when it comes to lyric writing. So
Right.
it informs you. Whatever you get angry over, like somebody did something and you're like, oh, this is terrible. And you start getting
This is great
passionate about it.
advice. This is really valuable. This works not just on music writing,
Everything, anything creative.
everything. I
Yes.
don't care who does what. If you're learning to do something you like, this is good advice.
See, here's the thing. You're already going to listen to the music you like, or you're
Mhm.
already going to watch the films you love. Watch the films you don't like. Watch the, like you movies you don't like. Understand why, and then ask why. Why is this so bad? What is, like I don't like comedies today. I used to like comedies when I was younger. Don't like them today. Well, I could sit there and I could tear apart a comedy and tell you all the mistakes they made in that comedy. Right? That's important. If you can't do that, you can't do that with your own work. When you make something, you have to be critical of it. What do I like about it? What I could have done this better, or what don't I like about my own work? And then that's the only way to improve. By the way, when you first start off doing anything creative, okay, one thing that I learned, and I learned this from somebody, I don't remember the source, but your taste level is like here, okay? But your skill
Mhm.
level is in the toilet.
Right.
Dude, you're like the worst. You're in kindergarten. So it's really hard. Like I would sit up here and I would write stuff for hours and then I'd go to bed and I hated everything. I completely hate it. My wife would go, hey, how was you writing music? Oh, God, I hate everything I wrote tonight. Really? Oh, that's too bad. No, it's awful. It's all bad. I'm going to throw it away tomorrow. Then I come in tomorrow and listen to it objectively. I'm like, yeah, it's not great, but it's not as bad as I remember it either. And
Right.
then toss it away, throw it away. Okay, start over. Here's the one thing I learned. So my friend Glenn, right? Glenn Scott Lacey. This is years ago. He had me just write eight notes of music or something. It was crazy small, a couple bars, right, of music. And so I wrote it and I played it on, I had a piano at the time. I played on a little piano and I'm like, okay, that's cool. So next time I went to his house,
Did it say Fisher Price on it?
no, it was not stupid. But I went to his house and he's like, oh, I see what you did here. It's pretty good. Right? He's always encouraging. He's so cool. And he's like, and I felt, oh, that's good. And he goes, well, you could, instead of playing the B here, you could play the G because
I know what he does.
and he's like changing my brilliance, like my brilliant genius. And I'm like, oh my God. 8 notes, right? I barely wrote anything, right? And I'm like, oh no. And it's not mine anymore. He's making it his. And I remember driving home from his house after it was all changed and everything, thinking, why did I feel that way? What was going on that and I thought, it's weird. Glenn writes all this music. For him to throw away notes is no big deal. When I write software, I throw away lines and lines of code, hundreds of lines of code. Okay. Why? Because it's not good enough. But it got me from nothing to something. Right. So I had nothing. I just had an idea in my head. I start coding a bunch of code and I'm like, yeah, okay, that works, but it's crap. So then I push that aside and I write it better. And I go, oh, this is way better. And I throw that one away. So you have to do the same thing in any creative process, right? Even your first stuff isn't going to be great, but you have to be able to throw it away. Remember, your taste level's here, but your skill level's way in the toilet. So what you have to understand is you have to be easy on yourself in the beginning. You have to say, my shit is going to be crap. And that's okay, because when I was in kindergarten, I couldn't draw worth beans and I couldn't write worth beans and I didn't know how to add. I know you're in kindergarten. If
I
you're going to
totally
do
agree.
film or music or whatever, allow yourself the time to be in kindergarten. And you will eventually get to first grade and slowly get to second grade, and you'll get there. But if you don't allow yourself, you go, oh, everything I do is terrible, I'll never be able to do it. You won't be able to do it because you quit. You have to say,
Right.
wait, I'm in kindergarten. It's really hard as an adult, right? So I think I said this before, but I'm like, almost 60 at the time I started writing music, and I'd write a piece of music and it was awful, right? If I go back now, I'd be like, ugh. But it's my first stuff. And so I was talking to my wife and I said, what's funny is if I was a 10-year-old writing that and I played it for people, like my friends, they'd be like, oh my God, that's so great. Wow. And adults would be like, oh, that's great. Keep going, and they'd give you all kinds of encouragement. I go, at 60, I play the same piece of music. They're like, give it up, loser. You're not a musician. You never, like, we're so much harder on adults because you're expected to be an adult-like in everything you do as an adult, but you're not. You're not going to, you've never done this before.
Totally true.
You're back to being a child again. You have to allow yourself to be that child and to know that you're going to write something better or make something better tomorrow because of the crap that you're doing now.
How important is it to have not really a mentor, but somebody you look up to, that whether it's in the career that you want or the talent you want? How important is that to have somebody?
I really appreciate Glenn as a mentor. He's helped me. He's helped speed up my process for sure, without a doubt, immensely. So I think that's always great. But I think even more important than mentors are inspiration. Like, you need to be inspired.
Okay, who inspires you in the business? You may not even know them personally.
No, I mean, I don't know anybody in the business.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my whole life going back, I would say my earliest recollection when I was really small, like 4 and 5 years old, the music I liked was like a lot of Burt Bacharach stuff.
As a kid?
Yeah, 4 and 5 years old. I remember. Yeah. What?
That's old people's music.
I am old, dude. You're not that much younger than me. You ain't that much younger than me, dude. So anyway, so that was my first. And then growing up, Jeff Lynne from ELO.
Right.
He's like, I've kind of studied what he does and he's amazing. He's done more than just ELO as well. Like he Traveling Wilburys. He did, he's written for, for movies and stuff. He's worked with the Beatles, different Beatles at different points in his career. He worked with George Harrison. He worked with Paul McCartney. He worked with Tom Petty. So yeah, he's been a huge inspiration as far as just the kind of music he writes. What else? Who else? Just inspiring. And then just a ton of old composers, like Henry Mancini and, Eric Satie. You go back to, like, there's just so many.
Who Eric Satie is, but
you know his pieces. You would know the piece if you heard it. Some of the pieces.
Who's your favorite movie composer?
I don't have a favorite.
Mine's Danny Elfman.
Okay, I like Danny Elfman. I like John Williams. I like Alan Silvestri. I like Thomas Newman. Huh?
John Dabney. He did Elf.
Oh yeah, I don't know his work that well.
He's really good.
Yeah, I like Thomas Newman. I mean, there's just so many. I'm terrible with names. Yeah, I'm terrible with names, so I have a hard time. I can go, oh yeah, I know that piece, and then I don't know who who wrote it.
John
So
Williams, he's like the
I said
godfather.
that was
That
the first
guy.
person I said.
Okay, so John Williams, he did like what? Star Wars, Indiana Jones. I mean, the guy's done like the biggest of the biggest.
Yeah, but he did stuff back on before that. He was known as Johnny Williams when he was younger, and he worked on old TV show stuff. So he did some TV show stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So crazy. Well, listen, gosh, we're almost at an hour, dude.
Oh.
I've tied you up for quite a while. I appreciate you explaining, because most of us, we may have a creative process. We may have a workflow, but not for writing music. It's completely
It's
different.
all the same. No, it's literally the same. I've done enough creative things in my life that it's the same. You start with nothing. You have it, and you imagine it as a finished product, and you start. And here's the problem. I would have these great story ideas for a film, right? I'd see the whole thing in my head. Imagine it's like a three-dimensional thing that's in my mind. And then when you put it on paper, it's like projecting the shadow of that three-dimensional object onto the page. And it looks
Right.
like shit. It doesn't look like the 3D thing, right? It's perfect in your mind. It will never be as good as that perfection in your mind. And you have to be okay with that. But you try to reach for that perfection. And then you do the best you can, and then you move on and make another one of that. And it's the same. You write software that way. You write poetry that way. You write short stories. You write long stories. You write music that way. Everything that you do is that same process. Blank page. I have an idea. I imagine that idea. And
Good.
then
I hope we can help somebody in another category. Honestly.
it's all the same. It's all the same.
Right. All right. Well, let me let you go, because I've taken enough of your time. We'll hit another topic next week.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.